Alright. I've had enough eye gouge kills for a lifetime. That's enough. I've had my fill. Thanks, Black Christmas. So Black Christmas tells the story of a deranged killer who escapes from a mental asylum and then preys upon the girls of a sorority house. Season's greetings, motherfuckers! Well, since it is December, I decided to do a few holiday Christmas horror films. So you're gonna get this, you're gonna get the original Black Christmas, and you're gonna get Silent Night, Deadly Night before the end of this month. Maybe a few others if I have time. Those are the only three that I'm promising, so look forward to those. But wanted to start with this one because this is going to be a lot more entertaining to review because, God, is there a lot of things to talk about with the 2006 Black Christmas. Holy shit. Now, I had never seen the original Black Christmas before until about 2 years ago. I really never heard it mentioned that much. I saw it on Bravo's, like, scariest movie moments, thought it looked interesting, never got around to checking it out until I really joined the horror community strongly whenever I started my YouTube channel. I started hearing how beloved this movie is with hardcore horror fans, especially slasher fans. Then I went out, I dropped the money, got the Scream Factory release, and I loved it. So you'll hear all of my spoiler-filled reasons about how great that movie is here in a couple of days. But talking about the 2006 remake, since I love the original so much, and since, as you guys know, for those of you that actually have been a part of my channel for a while or have seen quite a few of my reviews, there's a lot of remakes out there that I'm a big fan of. There's quite a few remakes out there that, controversially, I like more than the original. So I've decided maybe Black Christmas will be one of those diamonds in the rough. Oh, man. Yeah, that's not the case with this movie, guys. But before I get into all the reasons why this is dog shit compared to the original movie, and just not a very good slasher in general if you just kind of watch it on its own and don't compare it to that great original movie, there are some things that I will give credit to. First and foremost, one of the main things that I always harp on when people talk about remakes and discuss remakes with me about why do people make so many remakes, why do we need a remake, why should you do a remake, one of the things that unfortunately doesn't happen very often, but one of the things I've always said that you should do if you're going to do a remake, especially to a movie that is beloved, that is known as being a good movie, is do something different. Don't just give us a modern retelling of everything we saw in that original movie, because they've already proven that that formula of story, characters, plot direction, everything works. Don't do that again because you're just inevitably going to be compared to it. At least go in a different direction. Tell us some of the story that wasn't in that original, or go in a completely different direction and tell us things that wasn't anywhere close to that original but has the spirit of the original. Something. Do something different. If it's a movie that sucks and you're remaking it because you want to make it better, that's one thing. Then you can do that and do it better. But if it's a movie that's great, like the original Black Christmas, do not just retread the same territory. And to this movie's credit, it doesn't do that at all. In fact, I will go out on a limb and say that everything that original movie did, every decision that they made, everything that they decided to show you, everything that they decided not to show you, Black Christmas, the remake, takes the polar fucking opposite approach. And while in the end, it doesn't make for a very good movie, for all the reasons I'll get into here soon, I do have to give credit where credit's due that the writer and the director tried to do something different, because you don't get to say that very often. I will also say this, it's not a bad film to look at as far as visuals, as far as some of the camera angles they go for, especially for the colors. There's a lot of really good colors in this movie. Some of them I feel like were a little bit too strong, but you get a lot of good Christmas colors, a lot of reds, a lot of greens, a lot of great lighting. This is a very well-made movie as far as the technical aspects of it, as far as where to point the camera, how to move the camera, and what kind of lights to use around the camera. So, kudos for that. I will also say, if you're a fan of gore, if you're a fan of carnage candy, this movie is loaded with carnage candy canes all over the fucking place. This movie goes so far with the gore that if you come to a slasher and that is your main crutch, I have to see some gory ass kills, you will not be disappointed with Black Christmas the remake. Because the first film, while it does have blood, it's not necessarily one of those over-the-top gory slashers, especially for the time. You get to this, and like I said, polar fucking opposite approach. Blood and guts everywhere, and a lot of eyeballs. And my final positive is that this movie is directed by Glenn Morgan. Why is that a positive, you ask? Because he played the character of Roger, the best friend in Trick or Treat, the metal horror film that I love to death. So because the fact that this movie makes me think of Trick or Treat, even just for a second, I got to give a little shout out for a positive for that. I'm reaching, I know. Now, as far as the bullshit in Black Christmas, fuck this movie. Everything about the direction that they took with this, while different, while ballsy, while taking a new approach to the material that was proven to be effective in that original movie, it does not equate a good film in any way, shape, or fucking form. At all. Mainly with the approach they take with the killer named Billy. Now there's some debate on whether or not the killer's actually named Billy in the original film. We'll get into that. But in this movie, he's named Billy. You show his backstory. You show every single little detail, every little blood-soaked, nasty-ass, yellow, jaundice-filled detail in this fucker's backstory we get to know. I feel like I know what his favorite movie and his favorite food is by the time that fucking movie ends. We know everything that we did not find out in the original Black Christmas. And where you will find out in my review of that is one of the strongest and scariest elements of that original film. One of the most effective things and one of the most memorable things about it is we don't know shit about the killer. We barely even get to see him. We don't know why he's there, what the fuck he's doing, what his motivation is, how long he's gonna be there, how he feels, what his fucking name is, arguably. You get to Black Christmas, the remake, and they tell you everything that you wanna know and everything that you don't wanna fucking know.
Just keep him locked up with just a padlock?
That lock's just to make him feel at home.
Right, because his mom kept him locked in the basement his whole life.
The attic. See, that's the key to Billy Lynch. He just wants to feel at home. Especially on Christmas.
I mean, you go through this long, nasty-ass, fucked up backstory for this character where he comes out and, like CP puts it, he looks like Homer Simpson. He's got bright-ass yellow skin like the fucker from Sin City. And then you go into this thing where his mother never loved him, so she keeps him up in the attic and fucking probably feeds him fish heads and shit. They didn't show that. I invented that. Not a whole lot worse. Then you get to where she wants to have a kid with the stepfather who she murders the biological father along with, and Billy gets to watch it all, but the dude can't conceive any kid, or can't produce any children. He's firing blanks, so she goes upstairs and rapes her son, has an incestuous child, and has this daughter named Agnes, which the fucking kid Billy gets jealous of, and he goes downstairs one day and tears her fucking eyeball out of her head, out of his daughter's sister, and then goes nuts and kills his stepfather, kills his mom, cuts little Christmas cookie shit out of her skin and bakes it in the oven, and the cops come in, he's sitting there chewing on it like fucking beef jerky, and the slime and the bile and spit's coming down. I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to hear that. Nothing about that backstory appeals to me. And you're going to hear the defenders of this movie say, well, Bob Clark, the guy who was in charge of the original movie, the reason why the original is so great, that was actually the backstory that he had in his head. So this story actually comes from the genius that brought the original Black Christmas. Well, guess fucking what? That doesn't matter, because that shit's not in the original film, and it was not in the original film for a reason. So just the fact that he had it in his head as his own version of the backstory, that doesn't make it good. Doesn't make it effective, doesn't make it entertaining, and it doesn't make it a effective backstory for this killer that we're supposed to be following for the runtime of this fucking movie. Now let's get to Agnes. Yeah, the sister daughter with one fucking eyeball. She's basically the killer you follow for this entire movie. They try to use camera trickery and hide him in the background, so you can't quite, is that Billy or is that Agnes? Is it somebody else? Who's the killer? They show the long blonde hair more than a few times. If you're not blinking continuously throughout the fucking movie, you can tell that it's Agnes killing throughout the entirety of the runtime for the most part, until you get to the third act when Billy is revealed and they're both together. And Agnes can suck a dick, because this character sucks. Not only is the character itself just does not need to be in the movie whatsoever, and they're only including it as a little token back to the original Black Christmas and the phone calls, Agnes, what happened to Agnes? This character, for whatever fucking reason, is an incestuous child played by a man. Not even like Zelda from Pet Sematary, where it's just, it adds to the creepiness that she has the jaw lines of a man and the body of a man, and it could kind of pass off as a sick female. No, This looks like fucking Fabio walking around in the goddamn attic with one eyeball. And especially when the character goes to speak, "My daddy's here now."
And your brother's not here.
No, my daddy's here.
It's like watching a bad pileup. It's like the opening of Final Destination 2. Just when you think it can't get any worse, there's another fucking car that hits, and another wreck, and another severed head, and another bloodbath, and it just keeps going on, and you can't look away because it's so fucked up that you can't stop watching. And unfortunately, when you have a slasher that's framed in a way where most of your focus, if not all of your focus, is supposed to be on the killers of Billy and Agnes, and you can't get behind them because the backstory is just so unpleasant to watch that you just don't care anymore and you don't want to see anymore regarding Billy, and Agnes is executed so fucked up and weird that you don't have any appeal to that character whatsoever. When you have a slasher that the crux is those two killers and they're not effectively used, you have a big ass problem. But let's move on to the other characters, the sorority girls, the eye candy, getting away from the carnage candy now. Now we're in the eye candy. A lot of these actresses I do like. It feels like they went out and got the hottest chicks possible for this movie, and to a degree, not a bad approach. For a slasher movie, the precedent was set long ago. You want to have eye candy there. You want to have nudity. You want to have women that you just love to look at, and you kind of hope that the hottest one makes it to the end. Yes, it's fucked up, but let's just be honest. That's how we look at slashers. When you see a movie and you don't know any of the characters, you pick the hot one and you say, as long as they're not annoying, let them live to the end. I don't know why, but let's do it. You get to Black Christmas, you get Michelle Trachtenberg, who knows what the fuck she was doing between Harriet the Spy and this. You get Lacey Chabert, or Chabert, however the hell you say her last name, the chick from Party of Five. Mean Girls was good. I never really seen anything else with her. You get Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was an up-and-comer at this time. She's great now, so that's cool to see her back in the day. But when this movie came out in 2006, wasn't really a big name. She was in Death Proof, and maybe a couple other things. You get Katie Cassidy, who I will admit fully was one of the better parts of the shitty Nightmare on Elm Street remake, but she's one of the worst parts of everything else I've seen her in, including Arrow, which is probably the biggest thing that she's known for. So you get to see her here, and she's the main actress. For me personally, not a big selling point. And none of the characters that they're playing are interesting in the slightest. They are the most basic level caricatures that you could possibly have in a slasher. You have the drunk, you have the bitch, you have the one that's sleeping with the boyfriend, and you have the one that seems to be the, friendly one that wants to keep everybody together because she's going to be the final girl, and you have to have the final girl be the one with morals. I mean, anybody that's seen more than one slasher in their entire life could go on a piece of notebook paper and come up with those exact same characters within 5 minutes. Not a whole lot of writing credit going on here. Not a whole lot of innovation, and not a whole lot of reason for me to care about these characters, because I don't. Half of them, when they die and they show their bodies in the third act, I don't even remember how the fuck they died. I was like, what the hell happened to them? Now they got no eyeballs? Whatever. Now moving into my last couple of negatives, yes, there's plenty of gore, plenty of killing, plenty of carnage candy throughout this movie. But one thing that I will say is a disappointment with a movie that goes for it in that aspect. There's not a whole lot of variety in the kills here, and that's one of the biggest things that I harp on. Have you seen my Scream reviews? I bitch about it in all 4 of them. Variety, creativity in the kills. There's not really any here. There's some callbacks to Black Christmas using like the glass unicorn horn as a stabbing weapon. You get the bag over the head, but for the most part, 90% of the kills in this movie involve eye gouges, pulling somebody's eyes out, and even eating them right in front of you with all the juice and everything shooting out. I told you this movie goes for fucking broke with that shit. Eye gouges, eye gouges, eye gouges. You want a fucked up drinking game? Take a shot every time somebody loses an eye or eats an eye in this movie. And just as a little viewer discretion thing for legal reasons, I'm not telling you to go do it, I'm just saying, if you want to go do it, it's a fucked up drinking game. So for all of you that are going to die from alcohol poisoning in the first 18 minutes of this movie, viewer discretion advised. But my final negative, and yes, maybe this is an unfair comparison to the original, but when you are taking the name Black Christmas, that comes along with a few expectations. One of which is fear and tension, which the first movie, or the original film, does in spades. Better than most movies that get a lot of credit for doing that. This movie has absolutely none of that. No tension whatsoever, no scares, no boiling tone throughout this movie like the original one. Nothing. It's just a basic in-your-face gore fest, which is fun for some, but if you're going for a Black Christmas remake, you should kind of carry out some of the things that Black Christmas did well, and that's not one of them. This movie does not have any of that. So if you want a movie that's gonna get some tension going, if you want a movie that's gonna jump out at you, that's gonna scare you, that's gonna make you feel like a roller coaster ride here and there, like some of the best ones do, Black Christmas, look elsewhere. But all in all, guys, there is only two ways that you can receive this movie. It's either so bad that it's good, or so bad that it's horrible. And despite the fact that I said it a couple of times, it's not horrible to the level of a fuck this movie. It's close, it's skating on it, it's touching it with its finger, but it's not quite there. This movie does have a couple redeeming qualities. It is kind of like a car wreck to where it's so bad and off the wall and batshit crazy that you almost can't look away, and there is some mild entertainment to be had for that. And if you're a gore hound, there's plenty of gore here, so there's mild entertainment to be had for that. But overall, this is a movie that I'm not going to recommend. I don't recommend it at all, especially if you're a fan of the original and you want to see what somebody else can do with that storyline. Don't even fucking bother. Or wait another 20, 30 years for somebody else to do it better. So Black Christmas, unfortunately, is one of those remakes that we wish all remakes would not be. And it's just totally void of everything that was great about the original. Yes, there's some things there that is going to be entertaining for certain horror fans, but as a whole, this is a movie that is not going to be on very many people's shelves. So, unfortunately for the remake of Black Christmas, I'm gonna have to tell you to skip that shit. So what do you guys think of Black Christmas? Are you on the end of the camp that actually loves this movie? I know two people who do. Or are you on the end of the camp that thinks that this is just garbage? It's nowhere near even a fraction as good as the original film. And even as just a basic slasher, there's tons of things that this movie does wrong. It doesn't even give its own merit as just a basic slasher that borrows the name Black Christmas. What are your thoughts on the 2006 Black Christmas remake? Tell me down below in the comment section. Let's get a conversation going on this thing before we get the great conversation of the original here in a couple of days. Let me know. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check out some social media links, check down in the video description below for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my Spreadshirt store for great Cody Leach merchandise like some badass t-shirts designed by the great Woody Bowen, and my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow, and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. And as always, guys, if you want to check out some more of my videos, including the rest of my reviews this holiday season, if you're watching this video in the future, you can check those out by clicking right over here.